35. Words. From the moment he saw Emilia hiding in the hedge, Terran knew it was only a matter of time. He would fracture. He couldn't separate his vow to Emilia and the directive from Darius, not with Venye standing between them. Yet, days later, here he was, still himself, albeit a swirling mess of conflicting purpose, but still in his right mind. He worked hard to keep his thoughts aligned, and slowly found the delicate balance he needed to keep each oath in harmony with the next. They were a day out of Rook, and the trip had been uneventful, despite the feverish pace they'd set. Tonight Venye called for a halt rather than alternating shifts keeping them driving through the night. They were entering the reaches, and once out of these rocky foothills, the land couldn't be trusted. Terran sat, drinking a cup of tea before one of the small cook fires, and watched as Elder Venye picked her way through the camp, looking as out of place as glass in a garden. Her bright blue setka shone like a beacon amongst the neutral tents, gear, and dark metal of the linked caravan cars. Could she really be stirring the unrest in the capital? He'd seen nothing but compassion from the woman. While temperate next to elevated Darius's attitudes, it hardly made her a traitor. Solace had obviously trusted her enough to witness Emilia's testimony, and the elder had even covered for the fact they had tried to leave Darius out of that particular meeting. A familiar flip twisted in his stomach. Why can't I let this go? Everything pointed to the fact he should trust her. Darius himself approved her request to lead the team to the reaches. Lead the team. Elders did not lead field teams, even past overseers such as Venye, especially ones past their prime and with nothing to gain from the move. Elders only carried the strength and resilience of an acolyte, nothing that could be relied upon in an earnest fight. He took a long sip of his tea. His suspicion leaned heavily on a single second-hand conversation he'd heard from Emilia. It was possible he had misinterpreted Venye's empathy as rebellion. Even more possible that Emilia's own feelings toward the Order colored her report, but it felt dangerous to dismiss it as coincidence. Whatever Venye had said to Emilia the night they left the capital had shifted something between the two of them. Emilia stopped pressing for answers. She didn't speak of his vows or anything Order-related beyond returning to Rickon. Instead, she kept things between them light, or distracted him in other ways. A flush of heat crawled up his neck at the thought. Her distractions had been thorough. The only explanation he could think of was that Venye warned Emilia about the risks of Terran being oath-torn. To what end? To protect me, or to set me up? There was no clear motivation either way, and Terran felt as if he were running blind, swinging at phantom enemies. "Overseer?" Venye greeted as she neared. He stood and held his fists over sternum and belly as he bowed his head in respect. "Elder?" She waved him off. "Enough of that. We are in the field. My title is more than enough deference for me." "Of course, Elder." She sat on a crate before the fire, and he followed suit on his own stumped log. "Our first night within the reaches. You must be eager to be home." He looked past the edge of camp and into the gathering dark. "I am. It's been far too long." Tomorrow the foothills would give way to flat valley bottoms, and they would be that much closer to Rickon. "We will have to start making camp in the trees and sleep in the caravan cars. Open ground will be dangerous." "Yes, of course." She glanced around warily at their camp. "We are still in the rock of the foothills, Elder. We are safe enough tonight." She gave him a tight smile. "Thank you. It has been ages since I have left the capital, and I see it has done me little good to stay in stone all these years. One forgets the vulnerability of where earth and sky meet." Silence fell between them, and he glanced across to where Emilia sat with another engineer, poring over schematics. Emilia must have felt his eyes on her because she glanced up, and her mouth pulled into a half-smile before returning to her work. Her hair fell forward and covered her face from full view as she studied the drawings. Her effortless beauty struck him afresh. "I'm not sure if Emilia passed on my congratulations," Venier said, catching his line of sight. "It is a consolation to know you have each other." Terran sat back and cleared his throat. "I'm not sure others in the Order would share your goodwill." Venier let out a light laugh. "I'm afraid you may be right, although I think that reflects more on them than on you and Emilia." "Leave an opening." "It may be the vows, but I cannot bring myself to regret it," he said, smiling as he watched Emilia point emphatically at the drawings before she sketched out a solution for the other engineer to see. "She's much like her mother," Venier said. Terran cast a sidelong glance at the elder, unsure if she was speaking to him or to herself. That wasn't the direction he expected the conversation to go. "Did you know I knew her mother?" Venier asked. "Emilia said you were overseers together." Venier smiled and shifted to face him more fully. "She and I were much as you and Nox were, raised together, inseparable." Terran had allowed himself very little time to think of Nox. The memories of him alive somehow held a sharper spike than his loss. He pulled in a quick breath, trying to push back the inrush of past moments. Venier reached over and patted his knee. "I'm sorry, dear. I should have known it would be too fresh. Those memories are painful now, but they will be a comfort in the future." "I hope so." She gave him a sad smile. "I didn't lose Maven the same way you lost Nox, but it was no less final." She looked up at the deepening dark of the night sky. "My pride tore us from each other, with no path back, until now." He gave her a questioning look. Venier sighed. "It was my own foolishness, valuing rank and dogma over the people who loved me, just as Darius did to Nox. And as much as Nox paid the ultimate price, it's been you and Emilia who've borne the scars." Terran's heart quickened, the words twisting into him. Tying their situation with Venier's near-mutinous sentiment pushed the boundaries of his mental balancing act. He coughed to clear the discomfort from his throat. Venier glanced at him, looking concerned. "Are you all right, dear?" He nodded and pulled out a canteen, taking a quick swallow of water. "I am hoping I can set things right," Venier said. He fought to keep his voice even. "How so?" She gestured to the caravan around them. "By coming out here, finally. After all these years, I will see my friend and help her protect her home." The rising tension eased. He was wound so tight he was seeing enemies where there was only kindness. He took a clearing breath of his own. "I'm sure it will mean the world to Maven." Venier smiled. "I hope so." She looked at him, earnest. "I'm sorry that opportunity was taken from you. The Order owes you much." He ran a hand through his hair and closed his eyes against the headache building. "Owes me?" She tilted her head, and the smile she gave him held too much sadness. "The Order is meant to bolster and support, not be the very force you fear." "I do not fear the Order," he defended. The older woman waved the comment off. "Call it what you will. I understand why you extended yourself for Emilia, and I don't blame you. You wanted to protect her from them. From him." His eyes snapped to hers. "You know of the oath?" "Emilia shared a little with me." Terran sagged and rubbed a hand over his face. Venier didn't even know the worst of it. "Oh," he said. "Darius should have never sent you out here, oath-torn as you are. I fear he seeks to break you, to remove you from the Order. Don't let him win." His headache flared, causing the light from the fire to break into an array of colors, as if through a crystal. "It is you. You're the one stirring the Order." A pitying look filled her pale blue gaze. "It's not as you think. I am for the Order, for the people of the Mercurial, and I, too, am fighting for the soul of this land." A cold dread coiled around his heart. Even if it were true, to break his oath to Darius would be to lose his connection to the sky. The words he'd sworn were laden with consequence. "Sky help me." "I can't let you—" The word broke from his mouth in a dry rasp, tension leaking through. Venier stiffened and considered him for a long moment. She lifted a fine brow, lips pressed thin. "He already got to you, didn't he?" "I don't know what you mean," Terran lied. "Darius, you fool," Venier half whispered to herself, shaking her head. "I cannot ignore this, Elder. Elevated Darius must know there are those in his inner circle trying to thwart his efforts." She tipped her head. "Even though you agree with me, even though Emilia will fight with me." His throat cinched closed, cutting off any response. Venier held his gaze, cold determination in her pale blue eyes. "We need you in the days ahead, Terran, not this crumbling man, torn and broken, sitting here now. You can determine to serve the sky apart from this corruption. Join us." "I can't. Make a choice or break. There is no middle ground." "No." The thought cut off any response, and Venier stood, dusting herself off. "I'm going to catch some sleep." Her tone turned serious. "Do what you must, Terran. The Mercurial needs you." Terran's mind raced as the camp quieted. They were a large group of almost 20, traveling between the 6 convoy transports and a handful of scouting vessels. Most of the personnel were support staff, drivers, cooks, and specialty consultants like Emilia and the other engineer. Only 3 were other overseers, Connor, Hayden, and Merrill. They sat around their own fire in quiet conversation. Do what you must. Both Elder Venier and Elevated Darius believed they were protecting the Mercurial. Darius through structure and law, and Venier by championing for their hearts. Yet between them, Terran was caught in a vice. He knew what Venier thought he should do. To abandon his oath to Emilia and reclaim his mind without endangering his power. To join her. His throat burned at her warnings. She seemed to guess the conflict within him regarding the Elevated's new direction, but clearly had no idea the lengths Darius had gone in order to ensure his loyalty. Despite this, the thought of releasing his oaths to the sky sent a spike of fear down his spine. He'd belonged to the sky for as long as he had memory. Her power coursing through his veins felt as essential as breathing. Nor could he abandon his promise to Emilia. Always dear to him, now she captured his heart. Speaking the extended oaths to the Elevated was a mistake. He wished he could purge them from his soul, but they held him fast. Terran's thoughts strayed to Nox. He needed him now more than ever, to figure out a way through, to talk. If Nox were alive, he'd kill me. The thought sent fresh pain piercing through him, and he stifled a groan as he raked his hands through his hair. All the words left unspoken were piling up within him, leaving him little room to breathe. His eyes drifted out over the silhouetted mountains and the black of the plains below, and he imagined leaving it all behind. He and Emilia could surrender all this politicking to someone else and live free. Terence smiled in the dark at the impossible thought. "There's a look I've missed," Emilia said as she walked up and retied her hair back from her face. He raised his eyebrow and forced a full smile. She stood before him and ran her fingers through his hair before clasping her hands behind his neck. He pulled her close, arms wrapped around her hips, and leaned his forehead against her abdomen. "How are you?" she asked, voice soft. "I'm fine, just tired." She placed her hands on his cheeks and tipped his face up to hers. She studied him for a moment. "Are you sure?" "No. But I think you were right." "Of course I was. About what?" She brushed her lips across his, lingering a moment before releasing him. "Everything." He mentally added his own list. Venier, Darius, a life away from the Order, the cost of all of this. "Ah, yes, that sounds about right." She took his hands in hers and pulled him to standing. "Time to get some sleep." He followed her to the edge of the camp, to where their tent was set up, and ducked inside after her. Tomorrow they would need a sleeper car, but for tonight they had opted for the privacy of a wall tent. He crawled next to her under a pile of covers on the ground mats. "Did you have a good talk with Venier?" she asked. His mouth turned dry, and the rasping whisper stole any conviction the words held. "It was interesting." "Do you still think she's working against the Order?" He stiffened, the chaos in his mind roaring to life. Emilia must have felt his reaction and rolled to face him. She traced his jaw with her fingers. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have asked. Curiosity got the better of me." He snorted, and a half-formed grin emerged, despite the discomfort. "As always." "Venier told me what it means to be oath-torn." "Don't," he whispered. His chest grew tight with the words he wanted to speak. Emilia put her hand to his cheek. "I don't need answers. I trust you. All that matters to me is that you find your way through this and back to me. Okay?" He couldn't see her face in the dark, but he could feel the warmth of her breath and the gentleness of her touch. "Okay," he managed, though the word came out as a rough croak. He swallowed and found his voice. "I love you, Em." "I love you too," she whispered, and then silenced the need for any more talking by pressing her mouth to his.